Welcome to Balls and Brews, you guys. Pod 66. I'm back, and unfortunately, Zach's in Mexico. Well, not unfortunately, by the way. I'm going to cheers to...
For us.
Yeah, and for you guys not to hear him, but for him, here's to you, bro. Pod 66.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
You don't think Zach would like this?
I think he absolutely would.
I think so, too.
1,000%. No, this is right up Zach's alley. I still have 4 cans left, so I'll save you one, brother. Hazelnut Macchiato Stout by Crooked Stave. And they are out of Denver, Colorado. And drinks at a 7.5, and I would say smooth.
Yeah. It almost, reminds me just like a coffee chocolate.
It reminds me of Black Butte. A Black Butte Porter.
It does have that kind of...
It calls it a stout, but it almost drinks more like a porter to me. Now, granted, that's one drink. I'll give you another little revisit here. But
I think that would be... I mean, it's good. I like this. I think it'd be better on nitro, of course.
Yes. That would... For you, because that would really also bring out the coffee and the body of it, for sure. Because it actually, for a stout, doesn't have too thick of a body. No, its mouthfeel and its body goes pretty quick, but
it's not drinking that motor oil.
Flavor's very good. So shout out. Colorado in general has really good beer. They have some really good breweries between New Belgium and why am I drawing a blank on the other Odell's? There's a lot of good breweries out in Colorado. Crooked Stave obviously is holding down in Denver in the big city. So
but we just mentioned Zach being gone. Let's talk about you being gone.
I was gone, y'all. I was unplugged. So I don't know if, to those listening, if you're Reno local, obviously you've heard of it. And if you're listening around the nation or worldwide even potentially, I went to Burning Man. I stayed out there from Wednesday to Sunday, and it was amazing. I gave it a 7.5 overall because...
That doesn't sound amazing.
Okay, fair enough. Because there were moments that weren't. I had to be real with myself, and I can't just come back and say everything was fucking sunshine and rainbows. It's a harsh environment out there. And I went solo. There were a lot of great times. There were just a lot of introverted, thought-provoking times that were, pretty intense. So... but the art, oh my God, it's so fucking cool. There's nothing like it out there. A lot of it's either interactive or somebody's been building this for years or their whole life. It's a passion project that they've put years and years and years into. It's so
definitely stuff you could appreciate.
Even if I'm not an artsy fartsy kind of guy, you know what I mean. But you go out there and there's no way you can't just the scope of these projects and just a lot of them have information in front of them about who built it and how long it took them and where it came from and what the kind of the meaning is that they want to project behind it. But at the same time, it's art, so it's open to interpretation. And out there, it's a different kind of feeling. Luckily, this was my third one, so as soon as I got there, it was welcome home. I felt great. I was ready to go. I strapped on my water and I just went, and it was awesome. The days out there were incredible. I found Reno Home Brewer and had a great brown from them. I found a spot that's called Beer 30 that was I ended up coercing it out of them. They were just Sierra Nevada guys. They had Sierra Nevada tanks or kegs, and I ended up talking to the guy out front, Alex. He's like, yeah, we save up all year. We get credit from the brewery to bring out a certain amount of beers out here, and we pool them all together and we bring them out once a year. And I had a ginger blackberry kombucha by them that I didn't even know they made a kombucha, which it's like the strange beast. I think that they've actually bought in that, so I think that's where they get their kombucha angle from. Super good. This thing called a Cherry Manhattan, which was a barrel-aged red that tasted very heavy into the Manhattan. It was interesting out on the Playa, dude. It was like it was a 10%er. Everything else was drinking super light.
Yeah, and sounds like it would hit.
It did. It was a thing for sure. I had some really good. I had one of the best Bloody Marys I've ever had handmade for me. It was a bacon Bloody Mary. You'd appreciate that.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
all the ingredients in front of you. She mixed it all up. She had salt on the rim. It was the right amount of everything, and then big old piece of bacon right on top. It was like, thank you, ma'am. I was like,
my breakfast.
It was the best made cocktail I've ever seen out on the Playa. Then I got a really good gin and tonic, and a hot dog, and a Playa dog, a glizzy out there for sure.
Glizzy dogs on the Playa?
Oh, everywhere, dude. I had a deep Playa hot dog. Shout to the guy who was running the cart out there, bro. I turned around from an art installation, and I just see some people around a cart, and I was like, I know what that is. I'm going to go get me a hot dog.
Easy food.
Absolutely, dude. You can heat them up like by the dozens, right? You don't need a lot of space to purvey it. But as far as like alcohol, that's pretty much. And then I brought out some leftovers from the pod, which carried me through a lot. And then I picked up some Trulies just for like some easy drinking when I was back at camp and whatnot. Some decompression alcohol,
something light.
Yeah. So, dude, there was a couple of days where Chuck had a couple of, extra pours, if you will, but had some mimosas are everywhere out there, so I had some mimosas, but that's champagne and juice, so that's nothing to write home about necessarily. But out there, those are nice because it's hot as fuck, so was sucking down some of those. But if I had to say anything of it was that Bloody Mary, man. Shout out to that lady at that camp. What the hell was the name? Expansion was the name of their camp, I believe, or something of that nature. It started with an E. But she was whipping them up. And I mean, she was doing... I wasn't the only motherfucker in line. She's making these all natural from like top to bottom for hundreds of people. I mean, maybe not hundreds. That might be an exaggeration. But dozens. One at a... Well, she was whipping 3 at a time. But dude, she was killing it. Shout out. I wish I'd spent more time.
Was there a particular piece of art that stood out to you?
Oh, my God. So, yeah... There was one that called me, and it was all the way. Of course, it had to be parked all the way out by the trash fence, which is deep Playa. That's the furthest position you can go out that they let you. Like, there's literally like a fence that you cannot cross where Bureau of Land Management polices that. And it was called the Eye of the Playa, and it was so dope. I wish it would have done more. I felt like they could have done more with it, but it was like, picture like literally like a full-size scale eye, and then dropped into it was the pupil, was another video screen. So the eye itself, and then the eyelashes were also like lights. So like it had lights going around it. It had the light effects inside and then like once you got into the iris, is that what the center of your eye is called? Yeah. I thought it was going to be speakers, and I thought they were going to put on like a show. I thought they were going to sneak like a stage back there, and then like...
That would have been cool.
That's what I thought when I saw it during the day. And I was like, I will have to come back to this at night. And so I traveled out there at night, and it was rad, but honestly it was a little disappointing. I thought it was going to have music. The imagery was wonderful, and like the flow to all of it, you could tell it was well planned and synchronized to what they had going on. But
maybe some Pink Floyd vibes.
Sure. Oh yeah. I mean, psychedelic for sure. Like, I mean, come on. Let's the night out there is so overstimulating. Oh my Lord, especially by myself. It's probably why I like the day more just by myself, because I could control the energy a lot more. Out there at night, especially, open Playa goes just nuts, dude.
Just lights and music and
all the noises you can imagine, all the people you can imagine, and there's no rules, there's no roads. You don't like, everybody's going every which way. So, I mean, shout out to Burning Man in the overall, because it was a really good and needed week for me. I did a lot of enjoyment as far as like. It was me, man. Didn't have a schedule, didn't have my phone on me. Like, literally, it was either light time or dark time. Didn't even really care what was going on. Like, found a punk show. After the man burned, I went back to center camp, and there was just a random old punk band just... It was awesome.
I was gonna ask if there was like a music that got you going or stood out.
I mean, generally it's EDM, and for those who don't understand that acronym, it's electronic dance music. So a la like an EDC, like stuff like that, or like stuff you'll hear at like Coachella. It's very driven by like dance music, obviously, because they don't call it a festival, they call it an event, but it's an event where movement is very particular and encouraged. And now it covers the spectrum. In the morning when there's like yoga sessions, they do like very ambient, like, almost nature,
relaxing kind of stuff.
Exactly,
chill music.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody's recovering from the night before or barely coming to, right? So it's very chill in the morning. That's kind of how you tell what time it is out there, is how the music progresses. Now, I found a couple of metal camps, and that was pretty cool. I found a camp that was called Space Punks. That was right on the street I was staying on, that they set up their own stage, and it said, be your own band. They literally, it had drums, it had keyboards, it had guitars, basses, microphones. Like, I caught some really, like, some people you could tell were just meeting up, just figuring out whatever the hell they were doing. Some people you could tell are actually played together before, and they got up there and they performed. And
nice.
that was super cool. So I caught a couple of, like, really cool, like, there was this one girl and this guy playing a guitar, and I forget what fucking song she was singing, but she was killing it. It was a cover. It wasn't like one of their songs or whatever, but
still nice.
Yeah, it was. And like one of the sweetest moments, Saturday, it must have been morning at that point, but it had to have been by the time I went to go to sleep on burn night into the morning. I'm laying in my tent, and I don't know who it was because I didn't get up to go and find out, but I just started hearing acoustic guitar, just one simple acoustic guitar, no vocals, just a guy just kind of, or a lady, I don't know, just jamming. And it was so serenading. It was so nice after all of that EDM, after all of the loud bass and movement and fastness, just to hear just a stripped down acoustic guitar. And
I do love that.
That was a super, super cool moment for me as well out there. So I would suggest this to anybody. If you have the smallest inclination to want to go, and especially if you live close, make it happen. If you don't want to go, don't go. It doesn't have to be for you or for everybody. But like honestly, it's an amazing experience. But listen to people and bring out the right stuff and prepare yourself, because it's crazy out there. But it's an amazing event, and like I said, I was lucky enough to make this my third one, and I will go for a fourth. I won't ever say that I will stop going overall. There will be gaps in between years or whatever, but like I'll make my way back out to the Playa sooner or later.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Money, did you have anything in between?
Nothing that compares to that, really.
No.
So let's just
so we're gonna get into the sports.
Talk football.
All right, let's do it. Let's do a little college, huh? So there were some crazy games last week. I think we should start with yours. I think, I really do.
Right.
I think that
I loved it.
Come on, much. I think that SC taking down LSU was
big,
especially in the fashion that it happened.
Oh man,
it was dramatic to say the least.
Yes, and man, I was so happy to see SC play some defense, and then the offense. I had a feeling it was just going to be there. Lincoln Riley, he's just incredible with quarterbacks. Moss been sitting, waiting, and he made some plays. Oh my goodness. I was so thrilled to watch that game, and especially the way that turned out. And USC was in my top 12, so I'm looking good there. Not looking...
They're not in my top 12 currently. No, not in the playoff for me. We'll go over mine here in a little bit, but just a shout out to Mr. Saquon, just scored his first touchdown as an Eagle.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That game's going on right now in Brazil.
We're definitely going to hit you hard with some NFL, so let's not get too distracted next. For sure. Let's keep on. I'm sorry. I just, as fantasy goes, I just get glued to it. We'll talk a little bit about that as well.
A non-biased party, how did you view the game, USC and LSU?
Well, it started off awesome, and then it was a slugfest, and then it ended insane.
Yep.
So it was kind of one of those for a casual fan. It was just like, oh shit, man. The second and third quarters were kind of like, yo, let's make something happen. But then the fourth quarter did exactly that. It made a lot fucking happen. And I thought Brian Kelly didn't fucking manage the end of the game well. He's terrible at understanding play time and how to play call in certain situations. He's lost 4 LSU openers now. Yeah, his opening day, and that's everything. Opening day is everything. Well, not so much anymore with 12. You do have a little bit of leeway to get back into
get back.
Yeah, for sure. There's going to be multiple one-loss teams. Yeah, there's going to be multiple one-loss teams. Let's be real about it. But
2 loss teams too.
Probably, yeah, more than likely. But it's just mind-blowing that for a program that is normally a blue blood and doesn't put up with bullshit, they've put up with a lot of bullshit from Brian Kelly. Like, Jaden Daniels was obviously fucking amazing last year, and they had quite the run with him. But
along with Jaden Daniels, they had historically one
Malik
of the worst
Neighbors.
defenses.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, they were just they were running and gunning.
That's crazy for LSU. I mean, it's you feel like in Louisiana, you just have all those prospects available. That defense should have been so much better.
They're considered one of the DBUs. They put out safeties and cornerbacks like you wouldn't fucking believe. Between like them and Miami.
Well, and they always have a nice D lineman or linebacker too.
1,000%. They always have a good stuffer on. Yeah, no, that's where Patrick Queen came from. Like, no, absolutely. They've had ballers there at every level for years. It was weird to see. Now they got away with a lot of it because of how good their offense was, but yeah, had they had a medium offense and that defense, it would have been laughable. They would have been ran out of town.
I did think their defense looked better than it did last year to start the season, at least.
Sure. No, this was a very competitive game. They lost, right? But it didn't
USC's offense was... I thought it looked pretty good. So.
No, and you're playing one of the best offensive minds in the country with time to prepare for you on a neutral site. You technically had to travel further than SC did. SC just came over from LA.
Yeah, they played in Vegas, but LSU, I think they had more fans probably in that stadium than USC. I mean, they traveled well.
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me. Once again, it speaks to how much of a fucking blue blood
LSU is.
Yeah, across college football is different in the South. Yeah. As West Coast boys, we acknowledge and understand that. Like, we love and we have our passion for our college football, but it ain't nothing like the Southwest or Southeast rather, mostly because we also have pro football.
And a lot of other nice things, too.
Yeah, that is very true. We have a lot of pro sports out here out west. We're pretty spoiled. Yep. We still need a basketball team in Seattle. No big deal. Just, anytime you want to make that happen, NBA.
Probably pretty soon, but we'll see.
2 years, maybe? 3 years?
I mean, it's down the road. It's coming.
Okay, so what else hit on that slate that we want to touch on real quick?
Okay, the game in my top 12
that
I should have flip-flopped and I didn't.
No, was?
Notre Dame and A&M. It was a dogfight early on, and I thought A&M could upset them because I think they have some good talent there.
Sure. But was it in Kyle Field? Was it in Texas? Was it in A&M?
I believe it was. Yeah, that was the other reason that I was kind of leaning that way.
Beastly for Notre Dame to go down and get a win in 100,000 plus person stadium.
Yeah, but Riley Leonard and that Notre Dame defense are for real. Like, they are going to be Riley
Leonard, I thought he was going to be so much better last year, but then he ended up getting hurt, obviously. But that transfer out of Duke made a lot of sense. That one did make sense to me. That you went, I hate to say it, and I know Notre Dame hasn't necessarily done anything super, super significant recently, but they're technically a blue blood. They're a blue chip. They're an old program with a lot on the line. A lot of money goes behind that program. There's a lot of boosters. A lot of people love that program. So,
and I mean, there was questions.
A lot of eyeballs. They have their own network, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, I mean, there was questions with Brian Kelly leaving, but the coaching staff, I thought, called a really good game, and I think they're for real. Again, I think they'll definitely be a team, even though I didn't select them in my top 12 as one of the top 12, the way they were playing, at least against A&M, which I think, again, they're talented enough to...
Now, don't get me wrong, and they're still in a conference that will absolutely allow you to have 1 or 2 losses and still make it.
Well, that's the thing.
If your quality loss is against Notre Dame, you'll be fine. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but... in the SEC, you're probably going to get some more as A&M. You're going to probably get a couple more losses. And Notre Dame's schedule, I think their last tough game is probably SC. USC's, their rest of the schedule is pretty soft.
Okay.
So they should be able to go.
I love that the rivalry is real. I love that
they're going to be there. 2 losses.
I love that you guys have them scheduled. That's great.
Yeah, keeping it alive.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, Clemson, Georgia didn't really turn out to be the game we were hoping.
That was a shellacking, dude.
Georgia looked like number 1.
And it goes to speak of how skinny Clemson is right now. They're not. They're coasting on their laurels. Like it's on the name alone at this point. It's because Dabo had programs. They don't currently have a program, dude.
I still feel like Dabo is a good coach, but he's not adapting to the new landscape.
He essentially refuses to do the transfer portal, which is the dumbest thing that a coach in this current era cannot pay attention to. You can pick up talent on talent on talent on talent.
And I feel like, I mean, I know he's got a pass because of the national championship, but I think that's going to come to an end pretty soon.
It's got to.
Unless he decides to change, because if he hasn't changed yet, and if he's not going to, they're going to fire him.
If you keep getting
he's
whacked,
on a hot seat.
If you keep getting whacked like this by other big programs on national television, no less, like you're going to drive the enthusiasm for that program into the ground quickly. And to be fair, Clemson was never a traditional powerhouse. They kind of came to prominence and they held for a while, but it's not one of those schools that has the same backbone as Notre Dame, an SC, a Michigan, an Ohio State, Florida, Miami, these fucking old school fucking teams that people bleed for. Like Clemson is not one of those teams that I ever even remember like as a kid necessarily. Those other ones were always prominent.
And as far as the rest of last week's slate goes, I mean, all the top 25 pretty much came out on top.
Right.
Oregon kind of had a closer game than most would have thought. I think I forget what that spread was, but it was a lot bigger than what they won by for sure.
Well, yeah, it's because that team is stacked, and that's why they were expecting them to run over in their first. Because the reason being is because literally everybody else did. There were 5 teams in the SEC that put up over 60 points.
Yeah, it was a slow start for them. I still think they're going to be there at the end, though.
Oh, absolutely. Dan Lanning is a fucking great coach, too. Yeah, he couldn't beat the Huskies last year.
And probably the last thing to talk on as far as the last week's slate goes,
it's got to be
Florida
Mr.
State.
0-2, yeah, the Seminoles.
0-2 going down to Boston College.
Yeah, losing to Tech on opening week in Ireland. Okay, all right, crazy game. Shit happens. It was close. It's a rival. We get it.
Yeah, it's out of the country.
There's a lot of things can happen, yeah. But to come back after a full another week of preparation, be stateside, and blow a game to a team that is not better than you is unacceptable.
Well, Florida State did lose a lot to the draft and in the transfer portal, and I just really think they were overranked coming into the season.
Well, clearly, yeah.
I didn't have them in my top 12. I know we kind of got a little, we got an early view because we didn't do our top 12 until after week 0. But still, it's obviously that's what it
even
looks
if
like.
They would have eked out that game, they were at 10. I would have highly debated not, keeping them in their ranking, right? Like you can win and still go down in the rankings if somebody had Oregon technically did that. They went from 3 to 7, even though they won.
Yeah, just because everybody else kind of did what they were supposed to do.
Because your eye test didn't hold up.
And it wasn't there yet, but they still have that talent, so they're still highly ranked.
So a win's a win for sure, and you always want to dub over an L. But in college football, the eye test matters a whole lot. Whole lot. They got to the point where they were talking about the committee not even taking into consideration champions of conferences and just taking the best 12 teams that they deem to be the best 12. Did you hear about that?
I
didn't put any equity into it, but the fact that they're even putting smoke out there like that is fucking ridiculous. I
don't know how much smoke that really is, though, because if you win your conference with 12 teams, it feels like a shoe-in if you're in the Power 4.
4. Oh, rest in peace, Pac-12.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a terrible one. All right, so kicking off this week's slate, is going to be the big one. Is going to be Tejas versus Michigan.
Yeah.
So burnt orange versus big blue, dude. That's a hell of a matchup, and right now Texas is actually favored by a full 7 on the road in the big house. Yeah,
oh.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think that they're probably going to be the heavy favorite, though. It just seems
like 3v10,
it.
and once again, you want to talk about a team that lost a grip of talent to the NFL draft was both of these teams.
Yes,
like Michigan especially, because you lose your quarterback in McCarthy, who is your 3-year starter. So
yeah, Texas still got their quarterback, still got their coach,
and Archie Manning's even playing too. He threw a tud in week 1.
Yeah, getting some playing time. When Texas is smoking those teams they should. Is there any matchups that stand out this week for you?
I mean, Oklahoma State, Arkansas can be an interesting game just because Arkansas is a chippy fucking team.
For sure.
Georgia Tech versus Syracuse, just because Tech is off to a hot start and Syracuse at home is a fucking interesting team. They always seem to find a way to fuck up a couple of conference opponents at home.
And then the other top 25 matchup, the Tennessee and NC State. NC State's 24 now.
There you go. Okay.
So they snuck into
Tenny should take that pretty easy.
They looked impressive. Yeah. Their quarterback was killing it.
I mean, you got Iowa State, so rivalry games are always interesting. Always
a good matchup.
Something that people put more passion into for sure. So, I mean, outside of that, we got cupcakers for the rest of the top 25. Really.
I mean, the thing with Oregon starting slow though is they do have Boise State, who could be that surprise team. What we're
talking about, yeah.
So that's a big opportunity for them there. But
even if Boise State just shows up and keeps them,
it close.
Yep. If they look like a program that is on the uprise and you can hold with a big dog, then there's no moral losses, as they say. There's no victory in defeat. There's just not you either lose or win, but you can put the better stuff on tape and show the nation that
if that's their
if we
best loss.
If we played 100, exactly. If we played 100 games, we could beat them maybe 30 times, 35 times. It was just one of the games that we didn't.
For sure.
How about that?
So I mean, that's I think the big games coming up for this week.
Sure. No, I mean, obviously pay attention to whatever team you want. There's so much college football out there. We're just barely grazing the surface when it comes to week 2 or week 3. It's week 2 technically.
Yes, because the week 0
doesn't exist. Weird, but I do love it. I do. Don't get me wrong. Week 0 is my favorite thing ever because that is actual football. And then it satiates you just enough until you get closer to the NFL.
Yeah, get that one at least
real big
game,
wake up game
couple
for sure.
Games just to feed the need.
Some football, but yeah, man. Let me give you my top 12 here. I jotted this down to retouch this subject to make sure that I gave you guys my outlook as well. A lot of big names out there: Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Bama, which are all the top 4 right now, and I don't think that that's necessarily. I'm not putting these in from 1 to 4. 1 to 12.
Why not?
Why not? All right. So if I'm gonna do it, then.
It's Georgia, obviously.
It is Georgia, Ohio State, Texas is probably still 1, 2, 3. No, Bama still would be 4, and then I would honestly probably put. I know Oregon stumbled, but I'd probably put Oregon at 5.
Yeah, they haven't lost yet.
Well, correct, yeah, and then Michigan, I'd move up. Honestly, I have them low, but I think Michigan at 6.
So yeah, Michigan, just to touch on real quick, neither Zach or I had them in our top 12.
Right.
That's one of our different games.
Yeah, sure, that's a big one.
Why Michigan for you?
I just think that program still has a lot of juice left over from last year. I think that they're going to be.
You think they're the 3rd best team in the Big Ten?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I mean, they could be.
That has to be what I'm stating after, right? Yeah, playoff. The rankings for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Notre Dame makes it in there for me as well. Yeah. And then this is where my back end gets a little crazy, and I appreciate this. All right, so I have Miami making it out of the ACC.
They were my winner as well.
I still have Ole Miss. I think that they're going to make it.
I do. Yeah.
Right now they're at 6th. Yeah. Then we got Tennessee, also out of the SEC. I think that's very
another
formidable team
between the three of us.
Okay.
And I kind of like that pick.
I think that they have, once again, a lot of juice and they're playing defense, and you need defense in the SEC because you're going to come across some really grinded out style games. And if they stay healthy, because they've been injury riddled the last couple of years. It's one of the reasons why Tennessee hasn't been able to maximize their rosters because of injuries over the last couple of years. They've had pros and things like that, obviously, but like injuries have played a big part. Then I have your one non-power 4 in Boise State, which is why I think putting out a game against Oregon is a fucking imperative movement for them.
Yeah, Boise State seems like the team outside the Power 4 that can lose a game and still get into the playoffs. And for everyone else, I think they have to be perfect. You'd have to be undefeated to even get a shot.
Right, well, because none of these other programs are going to play at Oregon.
Yes.
If your loss is at Oregon by 7 points or less.
Schedule matters.
Big time. Eye test. That's what we just spoke. Eye test fucking matters. Especially because that kid at running back that they have, who he put up 6 tuds and 243 or 250, some odd, 200 plus yards and 6 touchdowns. Yeah, fuck, brother. Like,
well done.
Yeah, and he actually they thought they were going to lose him to the transfer portal, right? Because he was on the national, coming into this year. He was on the scope, and he stayed. He simply said, I just want this much. He didn't gouge the team. I think it was like a clean, like 500,000 or something like that. Nothing crazy. Something that a program like Boise State could come up with. And he got him his NIL. And he said, cool, I want to come back to this program. And I love that not only for that kid, I love that for the programs in that area, because that's a Nevada-style program. Boise State and UNR, obviously, you know. Like, I think we're a step back if you think about it. But, like, I'm just saying in the idea of, like, being able to...
We're in the same conference. We're not that far away.
Right. But being able to retain the hometown boys and the building... Culture matters a lot in college football. There's no one and dones. You have to build a team. You have to be there for bare minimum 3 years if you want to go pro.
Yep.
So there's team building is massive. That culture in college. It's why college, to a lot of people, will always eclipse the NFL. There's fair weather fans in the NFL. There's no such thing as a fair weather fan in college football. Like...
Yeah, it's different.
Big time college football is church to some people. And then my last guy, rounding out number 12, Utah.
Yeah, we all had Utah in our top 12.
I just think Cam Rising coming back for his 19th year is gonna if he stays healthy. That defense is always good.
That defense
and he knows that playbook like the back of his hand, and they call it around him. They know exactly what his strengths and his weaknesses are. Utah's prime this year. Now, will they go deep in the playoff? Maybe not, but like you got to have that like lower end, upper end team, right? It's the lower end of the upper end, which is what Utah is.
Yeah, and we're talking about having you add Boise State in from the non-power 4. The team that you had prior to that was Arizona, which Zach also had in his top 12.
I think that they're a sneaky good team, dude. Yes. I think that they played so hard through the end of last year. We in Washington, I watched that every snap of that game. We escaped that game. We didn't win that game. We escaped from that game.
Well, I mean, you got their coach, right?
Fisk.
Yeah,
correct.
So, I mean, I thought that might hurt him. That's why I didn't have him in my top 12. But, I mean, they bring back that quarterback who's ESPN had him top 5, I believe. He's for real, too.
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, I forget his fucking name. And then they had their receiver who went off he reset records, too, 240 or like... it was 300 plus yards because he was the first guy to do it since my boy Njigba did it in the Rose Bowl. Yeah, he put up like 304 tuds. So that, you got to get a receiver that many yards, you got to have a quarterback who knows how to throw the fucking ball. So no, Arizona is a sneaky fucking team, dude. Like, and the only reason why we know this is because we're Pac-12 fans, and that's, we watch that ball. I've watched way more Arizona football games than anybody should. But that program's on the swing up, dude. So, but we talked off pod about you have to have a non-Power 4 team. Right. And I think that Boise State is going to have to be that one. So that's ultimately what it came down to.
I think that pretty much wraps it up for college football. Yes, unless you want to get into NCAA.
Oh, man, I don't want to talk about that, man. My heart hurts. I'm 4-6. You guys don't throw over the middle. I've said this before. That shit is... I will get better at it. I will. I just got to, figure out my style. I'm still not even committed to, like, a style of play yet necessarily. So... I mean, this is the first season. Everybody's got mad losses. Even Larry simmed his last game because he got all pissed off at the computer. So
yeah, I lost my game this morning, so I'm 5-6 now. I'm still searching for that.
No worries, bro.
I got one game left to get bowl eligible.
I'm 4-5, so I gotta get. Or no, I'm sorry, I'm 4-6. I still got to make up that game. I still got to get that fifth one. And I'm playing Temple, who's the highest rated in the American now. I just got to play smart. Run the ball when you need to, pass the ball when you need to. I know.
It just doesn't matter.
That's true, too. That's true. That game just kind of decides for you sometimes, man. EA, that is the one thing that kind of bums me out about. It's so much like what they call RNG, like random number generation. Like sometimes it just feels like that game just knows. I ran a stretch play on 4th and 1. I was down by 8, right? It was 30-38 in my last game. And I needed 2 yards, and I ran a stretch play against the backside of, I had the numbers. And their off-ball linebacker comes back downhill, busts through my line, and makes the tackle. Like he knew it was going to happen. Like he didn't set up to play the tight end that was over there. Sorry, I'm getting very into deep, but that shit was just, it knows. It's because it's CPU. That's what bothers me. It decides sometimes whether or not you're going to be successful. Doesn't it? It does. Does it feel like that? Okay, so I'm not the only one. So comment down below if that's how you feel when you played NCAA 25. Because to me, it feels more like an arcade than it does a simulation necessarily, right? Sometimes you can't tackle. Don't try to catch anybody. Everybody's faster than you. I don't care if you're a cornerback and a fucking D tackles, they're going to get you. An offensive tackle will chase down my cornerback if I pick the ball off. How? What? But of course, when I throw picks, which is like all the time, I don't tackle nobody. Sorry. You got me off on this major sidebar. We were going to cut people.
Yeah, it's time for a new brew.
It is, yes. We're going to come back with some new alcohol, and we're going to go down the NFL rabbit hole. Week 1, baby. Yes, we're going to go ahead. Back. Yeah, it is fully back. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to Balls and Brews, everybody. Pod 66.
Cheers.
Cheers again. I love that sound. Oh, yes, please.
Very pineapple-y.
Oh, absolutely. Pacific pineapple, as it were. Because this comes from Corvallis, Two Towns Cider House. You guys drank the... which one was it last week that you guys had?
It was a berry and lime.
Yeah, it was a blue and green can. Mm-hmm. Shout. But yeah, Two Towns. As always, I didn't get to sample that one, but this one's fucking money. It is very pineapple-y, but I also think that drives the point home.
Yeah. And it's not like tart either. It has more of, I think, that sweet pineapple kind of flavor.
Oh, I agree. Almost like no apple in there. Like the backbone, sure.
Get a little, yeah.
But like super, especially when you do like the pucker afterwards, all pineapple on my lips there.
Two Towns, one of our favorites.
Dude, oh my goodness gracious, we've had several at this point. I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, whatever. Not 4, not 5. Yeah, so you only got 4 total, LeBron. You might want to work on that. So, Trevor, this is the best. This is the best. This is ever.
It's Christmas
always
morning.
my seasonal depression is over. There's a game going on as we record this.
Football is back.
The NFL is live, baby.
Yeah, we met up last night for opening night.
We sure did.
Kickoff.
Yeah, and we squeezed each other. We hugged, 2-man hugged like you wouldn't believe because we were happy.
Feeling good.
Come on now, you guys. This is the reason, and we've stated this before, the reason why we started this pod is because we like talking the NFL. We love sports in general, and that's why we cover a lot of it. But, like, this is all three of us, and, you know, shout out to Zach, are definitively NFL fans. And even college football fans as well, just football fans. Like,
I mean, there's a reason it's the number one sport in America.
NFL is king, dude. In America, for sure. It's not even close.
It's just, for us, it's that sport that you start salivating for, that you look forward to every start of the season. There's so much hope.
0-0 is such a good feeling, unless you're like, you know, you're dumpster fire.
And that's only really maybe 5 teams. But
this year there's a little
many.
bit more than normal, yeah. But I would say 3 is traditionally right about the dumpster fire area. And then at least everybody else has a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
And then obviously when you're a Super Bowl favorite, that's a blessing and a curse. Because when the expectations are so high, like, and you come short of them, or the worst is when you don't even come close. It's one thing if you, at least you're like, all right, you know, competitive season, we got beat by a better team overall or whatever, you know, but we played very well, such and such, versus like, okay, this is supposed to be a Super Bowl team. When the Denver Broncos traded for Russell Wilson, and they thought that was the move that was going to put them into not only contention for like the playoffs, but true Super Bowl contention.
Yeah.
And then you win 5 games.
I mean, that team was further away than just a quarterback, and Russell Wilson wasn't the same quarterback. So that was just it was a big hot mess.
Best trade of all time.
But
so last night's game.
I was just going to say, for other teams that kind of flamed out, like the Eagles and the Jaguars, man, that's. Those
Are you talking
teams.
about last year specifically?
Yeah, last year specifically. The teams that
my Lord.
had that feeling that they could have been.
Dude, Philly started off 10-1. No, Jacksonville never had it. Jacksonville
was started off like, I think they were 8-5 at one point.
But that's still kind of a roller coaster versus 10-1.
Yeah, it's
10-1 is different. 10-1 is like, we should be the number 1 seed kind of thing. You have the inside lane at that point. And you won 1 game the rest of the year. I understand why Downey is so fucking scathing on the coaching staff and all of that out there. Like, there was clearly a disconnect, and I think that there's enough talent out there. And right now the score was 14-19. Jaden Reed, why are you killing me on my bench, bro? Fantasy life, you know.
You liked him enough to draft him?
I drafted him just to start him out week 1. I just didn't know ball distribution, dude. Ball distribution. That's all it is week 1. You don't know. I had Xavier Worthy on my bench. He had 3 touches but 2 tuds last night. Like, so fantasy is such a wicked interest. Yeah, absolutely. Especially long ones. Where if you get 12 points in a play or some shit like that can swing the whole matchup. Like, one play can change. It's why, especially but what I do have on my back was he had Pat Mahomes going last night, and he won the game, but he didn't fantasy not have the best night of his career. So I escaped from that matchup with only like 16 points against me. So
it's a win right there.
Yeah, for Mahomes, yeah, for sure. So, I mean...
let's get more into this game for sure, because, my goodness.
Oh, last night? Oh, my God. Okay, so before we get into the heroics and all of the fourth quarter back and forth and the game itself, can we talk about how poor the officiating was? Can we do that? What did you think? Because you heard me. I was audible. I was shouting about how upset I was about it. Now, granted, you were working the first half, so you were only listening over the radio.
Yes, I was listening, and so I could not actually visually see the penalties that were being called.
They were not penalties. They were not.
It did seem,
it only went one way.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Right.
Going one way, it seems a bit homerish. I mean, there was memes on X of like Patrick Mahomes making out with one of the refs because of how bad it was.
I mean, Ronnie Stanley, who is a 9-year vet, who is one of the best tackles currently in the NFL, got
probably
flagged.
The best tackle, definitely, well, the best probably offensive lineman for the Ravens.
Sure, absolutely, blue chip. He's the dude, and he got in the first quarter got 3 calls. In the first drive, he got 2. Lamar overcame it, and Derrick Henry ended up getting a tud. But it was insane. And, I mean, it wasn't any different than any... I looked at it, I was like, it's a regular line formation. What are you talking about? Like, he's not trying to get an advantage on anybody. He wasn't a yard behind, off the hip of the guard or something like that.
It wasn't that... big of a difference.
It needs to be, to me, the rule is defined.
Egregious.
Thank you. That's the exact word I was going to use. It has to be so noticeable that before the ball is even snapped, you're like, where is this guy at? Why is he even like there? No, none of them were like that. It looked like regular lineup. And then I'll tell you what pissed me off. Then when you flipped the ball and Kansas City had the ball, Juwan Taylor is taking off a fucking half second before the snap every time. He's lining up further back than Stanley was from my eyeballs. And I'm not like, I don't have 20/20 vision, but if I can fucking see that, then why can't the refs? And then he's jumping offsides. They gave him 1 offsides call when I thought he had 4, 5. I don't want to play into the conspiracy thought process. The refs are out to get but I'll tell you, it was hard not to watch some calls in that game and say that's wrong. And if a guy who has no officiating background, I know the rules of the game, I've never called a live NFL game, but if a guy from his couch can dispute that accurately, I think it's a terrible call.
That makes me think of like Tom Brady and the Patriots too. Just like the teams that
the
were
golden boy. Whenever because Mahomes is the NFL.
He's the new
right
golden
now.
boy.
He's the NFL right now. He is.
So it just seems like they get a little bit more leeway
On banner night. They lost last year's banner night. Like I don't like it. It looked a little too fishy for me. It really did. It really did. Now. That I could just be reading into things. Let us know what your thoughts are. I'm sure that if you're listening to us, you definitely watched that game last night too. We'd love to know what you guys have to say, because I was my jaw hit the floor a couple of times on some of those calls, or also non-calls, both ways.
And let's break down that game a little bit more. Like,
go for it. Isaiah Likely everywhere.
So yeah, Isaiah Likely is taking
Where was
the
Mark
place
Andrews?
of Mark Andrews.
Where was Mark
it looks
Andrews?
Like he's.
Where was Mark Andrews?
It looks like they were making that progression between the two.
Like, Isaiah Likely looks like his favorite target as of right now.
Yes.
Week 1, he certainly. I would say Flowers had a great target share too, though. Zay Flowers was fucking everywhere.
Is that receiver for them? But Likely was getting some prime passes and made some nice plays outside of that game play at the end where his toe was just that close. And that really hurts, because it could have been even a better game going into OT. I was rooting for it.
NFL fans were, if you weren't a Chiefs fan, you were pulling for that to be a touchdown. And I mean, it was, as they say, a game of inches measured in yards. It came down to the front of his toenail, dude. It was so close. And Lamar led a great drive getting down there. Homeboy had another 123 on the ground or some shit.
Yeah, he led, of course, the Ravens in rushing, 122.
They gave Derrick Henry 8 touches. 8.
Yeah,
it is the exact reason why. It's the exact reason why. I know he got the tud, on the opening drive, but he is I have to play from in front kind of running back. He's not a come from behind running back, because Justice Hill was out there doing work. He was out there catching passes, making guys miss, like getting yards on third down when you needed it. D. Henry ain't that dude. No, I'm not saying he's not a boss. Don't find me D. Henry, but I'm saying he's very specific in what he does.
And I think he's going to be that dude this season. They got 3 new offensive linemen. I think that really needs to come together a little bit more. And if they can play from the lead, like you were saying, then his role is going to.
Which in other games they will. In other games they will. They're a great team. Don't get me wrong. Like those were 2 very, very good teams who met up in the AFC Championship last year, who very well might meet up in the AFC Championship this year. Like. Yep. One game is one game, and a tiebreaker does matter, but it's week 1, right? That too. Like, there's no reason to panic if you're Baltimore.
No, but I mean that could be the difference when we get to the end of all of it.
If you're talking overall seedage, for sure. If they win the AFC North, and obviously the Chiefs are going to win the AFC West, unless the Raiders have something to say about it. Come on, Max Crosby, just kill people. I mean, not actually, but like, you know. I legitimately think the Raiders' season is more dependent upon their defense than their offense going into this year. Like, so, without getting too distracted, to Baltimore, you played a good game. You lost to a team on banner night in their house. You gave them everything you had.
Almost put it in OT.
Likely was out of bounds. It was an inch, but his toe was there.
And it was that close.
If there's anything, the play before it, he had Likely in the corner of the end zone, and he overshot him by a fucking mile.
Oh, well, Zay Flowers, he overshot.
He reversed that one. Zay was going right, and Lamar was coming back left, and he threw it behind him. That was a bad throw altogether. That
was one of Lamar's few bad plays. But otherwise, he was great that game.
I don't like that. He missed Oliver and set him up where he landed sideways in the corner of the end zone. That was a terrible throw. If he could have dotted him there. Had that been Aaron Rodgers, and that's going into the corner of the end zone.
Aaron Rodgers, you say?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. He throws the prettiest fade I've ever seen. I hate to say that, but he doesn't have the strongest arm, but his touch. His touch is incredible, dude.
He's got a pretty strong
fade
arm.
is insane, especially when he had Devontae Adams. That was almost a lock. If you got down to the 7-yard line, you're fading Devontae to the corner 3 times, and at least one of those is a touch. Like, insane. Anyway, Baltimore, I still think... Yeah, I had you winning I had Burrow. I'm sorry, I had the Bengals winning the AFC North, but I did have the Ravens in the playoffs. I still think they're a great team, and they showed
winning the North.
I think Downey did too. So I mean, obviously, legit roster. Don't panic. And Chiefs, I wouldn't read into winning that one the way you did either, because you had a lot of things kind of gifted to you. Now, Xavier Worthy kind of, showed out and read coverage when he needed to, had a big play on a broken coverage and an end around that was insane.
And they're without Hollywood Brown, who they should have in a game or 2. It seems like he should be back pretty soon.
I heard it was up to potentially 4 weeks, but you never know. Could be next week. I don't know. Depends. Everybody heals differently, and everybody has a different way of going about healing. And also, let's be fair about this. Doctors will clear guys that they need. I hate to say that, but Christian McCaffrey's supposed to have 17 injuries, but he's also supposed to start on Sunday.
Expects the usual workload in opener is the headline on ESPN.
After not practicing since August 6th or 7th or some shit.
They're just, taking it slow with him. He doesn't have to practice, just like Trent Williams doesn't have to practice. He's just going to come in and play.
I mean, you're not wrong. As long as those 2 guys are there on Sunday, I could give a shit less. You know what I mean?
Pretty much. And Trent Williams, I mean, he might not be in football shape, but that man is in shape. There was a report in the offseason that the J.C. Latham, tackle from Alabama that got drafted to the second tackle that went, he went to work out with Trent Williams. And
Latham went to didn't he? Tennessee?
No, he's Alabama. He's Bama tackle.
No, J.C. Latham got drafted, though.
Yeah.
To where?
Yeah, you're right.
Wasn't Tennessee?
No. So Tennessee took the first. They went the alt.
Alt was Chargers.
Chargers.
Yeah. Latham went to Tennessee. I could have sworn to pair him with Skoronski on the other side.
You're right.
Okay.
You're right. My bad. But the workout that he had with Trent, he's just like, this looks ridiculous, and he couldn't keep up with Trent Williams.
So
Trent Williams is like 36, 37 years old. Yeah. And this rookie can't keep up with him in the workout.
Coming out of one of the best programs, who probably has one of the best strength and conditioning, coaches and areas. And it speaks volumes of Trent Williams. He's
different.
He pulls. Different. He's a tackle that pulls. He'll sweep. He'll sweep block. I don't know if you know what that means, but literally come from the left side of the line across like a tight end, or like think of like Tyreek Hill in a pre-snap motion.
Somebody, pulling.
He has done that at 300 and some odd fucking pounds.
340.
Oh my lord, dude. Aaron, is this his actual nickname, or did Aaron just give him this one? He calls him the Silverback.
I think that's Aaron's, but I like it.
He looks like a fucking gorilla, doesn't he? He calls him the Silverback, and I was like, well, I get that. That's every bit of what Trent Williams is. He's ready to go at a moment's notice too. Sometimes I think he's like a lot like my DK in the sense of he is a leader, he's a great player, but sometimes he does go a little emotional and he gets extra chippy when it's just like, all right, dude, like this is after the whistle and you're like gangstering up on a dude. Like
he's gonna let you know he's there.
How can you miss him? Good lord. But I was saying earlier today, man, that like as soon as he held out, I would have pulled him aside and have been like, all right, what do we need to give you? Call your agent, let him know by the afternoon we'll have this done.
He didn't want to practice anyways.
Sure, that's probably the main reason for the holdout. He had 3 years left, but no guarantees is what the contract was. So
and the new contract, I believe, doesn't have any more guarantees either. He just got more money.
Okay. Well, I mean, sure then, Trent.
And a couple extra years.
Whatever, dude. He ain't going to play a couple extra years. He's only maybe got, 2 to 3?
Here's hoping.
But still, good lord. No doubt about that one. No doubt about that one. So...
All right, but before we get into this week's slate of games, let's touch on some of the other moves or the news in football as far as
let's go.
What's going on. Some of the recent updates we got. Okay. Steelers Wilson limited in practice.
Yep, calf.
To start.
Calf in it. I don't know, man. That's an older quarterback who's complaining of a calf issue. I think that I would start the younger guy who is healthy in Fields, even if you think your ceiling is lower, just because Russ is obvious. Even when Russ has been healthy, his pocket awareness and his movement has not been what it was in Seattle.
Correct.
And if you're talking another year on top of that, and now you're talking a calf strain, I don't know. I would play the healthy guy in Fields is what I would do.
It's definitely that argument. Do you want to put Russ out there not at 100%?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I would not.
I mean, they definitely wanted to go in the season starting with him, so if he struggled, it would be easier to move on to Fields. Now, if you have to start with Fields, then do you come back with Russ? I mean, that could change that game.
I understand.
That first game could make a whole lot of changes as far as the outlook and how they start
the progression of the season. I don't disagree with that, but so what does Coach Southwick do? It's a tough question.
Fields didn't seem like he was quite ready either, so I don't know if putting him out gives you what that difference is in having a better chance to win with him.
Legs. That's the difference.
Yes, and that's why I kind of lean Fields, is because you have this young offensive line that still needs to come together, and that's probably going to be an issue. And an issue, that's going to hurt Russ more than it would hurt Fields.
And when he did play in the preseason, you know what happened to him? He got swallowed up in the pocket multiple times. And Russ, if that was Russ 100%, and you're telling me that's your starting QB and you're going to trot him out there, and then you're going to give him at like 85%, let's give 90% even, it doesn't bode well. I have officially hopped off of the Fields train. I was a Fields, guy for.
There were moments that gave you hope.
Sure, and I thought that, it was the whole dial in his arm, make him read the field, he'll get time. He hasn't developed in that way. He just never had, no matter where he's been, no matter who's coached him, he just hasn't developed in that direction. So that's unfortunate, but I'm putting the fully healthy guy out there because it's not also, he has NFL starts under his belt. He's not just some unproven rookie.
Yes, and that's why I agree. I think you start Fields, and unless he has just some amazing game, you bring Russ back next week. Okay. It would have to be like...
He 303 tuds.
He would have to have like a Lamar Jackson performance to be like, okay, sorry, Russ.
Yeah, if he gives up... If Fields gets played and goes for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then another, let's say, 50 on the ground and another touchdown there, so 250 total yards, 3 touchdowns, I think you're gonna roll with that, right?
That looks
I don't
good.
think that's what Fields is gonna give you necessarily,
especially against the Falcons.
I know,
to open the season, which will break down more of the games as they come.
I think that's a very interesting game, very interesting outlook. Start Fields though on that topic is how I feel.
Okay, another headline for the NFL is Chase playing with no new deal.
Especially now the report has come out that Higgins isn't playing.
Yes, Higgins is
doubtful, which means he's not playing. No, doubtful is a no. Doubtful is never upgraded.
Normally, yes. And Chase...
When's the last time you've seen a doubtful go to play? I mean, honestly, I cannot. Every time you see the D in fantasy, the doubtful, you're
benching that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, Chase is still listed as questionable. I think he's gonna play though, and I think I think he understands it. Now that the point of the season is gone for the leverage, as far as and he doesn't. He's too young to miss. He's prime. Yeah,
he needs to go out and put up 1,400, 1,700 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's what he needs to go and do.
Yeah, if he was more of a vet, I could see him sitting out.
If he's Devontae Adams,
but being on that rookie contract still, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's not going to happen.
He tried to hold out as soon as he was eligible to hold out. Yeah. As soon as he was able to even get his next deal, he said, "I'm not practicing until you pay me." And don't get me wrong, Jamar Chase has changed the trajectory of that franchise. Him and Burrow together are one of the best duos we currently have, and that's undebatable. Numbers do not lie on that. But they didn't win the big game when they had the opportunity. They did beat Mahomes, but they didn't beat Stafford and the Rams. And then if you look around...
Aaron Donald wrecked that game.
Aaron Donald wanted that ring, dude. He wasn't going to let that chance go by him. That's you're talking a 9-year starter, 8 All-Pros. That's all he did. 9 years. In and out, baby. Fucking first ballot Hall of Famer. Absolutely no doubt about it. Guy changed the way that you look at defensive tackles as far as he's undersized. He's not supposed to be able to do the things he does. The man could move 3 bodies at once. He could take up your guard and your tackles and swallow him up or move around him. Anyway, I just shouldn't give too much praise to Aaron Donald. Thank God you retired. NFC West fans unite. But I just think that Chase, getting back to that topic, doesn't have the same legs to stand on that Tyreek does, that Jefferson does, that those guys that now this is an organizational move where I think Philly got it right by paying your receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith before they complained because you got out in front of the market. So now you control the salary cost because they're under contract rather than Jamar Chase should be salivating right now in the sense of, okay, you don't want to pay me this year? Fine. Then save your pocketbook until I put up 1,700 fucking yards.
More next season.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the other thing with that is just where the contract is. He's gonna get that money. He deserves more money now. I understand him wanting to get that money, of course, but at his current situation and knowing the Bengals, the way that they operate, it just seemed like this was inevitable as far as that goes.
I'm never going to fault a guy for trying to get his bag.
Exactly.
Especially in a sport that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to get hurt. Like, it's known, it's violent. There is a lot on the line. You're one play away from never playing this game again. It's a violent game. It just is. So I understand trying to maximize the window that you have.
For sure.
But
and
when
that window is open as long as Joe Burrow is there.
1,000%.
As reported.
Yeah. Joe, as long as Slim Shady's slinging the rock, dude.
Oh, yeah, the new look, Joe Burrow.
The new do. Do you have a bottle opener and or a lighter in your pocket or anything? Because I want to drink that beer, but I gotta open it.
Yeah, we gotta break that open. I'm thirsty.
All right, me too. So Trev, you keep it running. I'm gonna go get. I will be right back, everybody. Just listen to Trevor give some 49er breakdown or some shit. I don't know. Tell the fans what they want to hear. You know, the Seahawks are gonna win the NFC West. Let's go.
In his dreams. I mean, some people have the Seahawks being that surprise team that could be, that other team to make it out of the NFC West. I like the Rams a little bit more, but
a lot of people do as well.
Yes, a lot of people do. But, I mean, with the new coach, this comes down, it's a similar situation.
The moving parts are insane in Seattle, for sure.
The Raiders, I feel like, that defense could be for real. They could have gotten so much better.
We did the middle of our line. We drafted Byron Murphy. We re-signed Leonard Williams.
Legit.
Oh, my God, yeah. No, it's...
As far as, preseason training camp goes, there's been a lot of hype on him. So I think a lot of their success will depend on how. Oh no, that defense. But oh no, we have a little bit of a hot bottle. Let's just say.
We're live.
It wasn't shaken up, but it is. It's coming out like it was.
It's tasty.
Well, that's good to know. I'm excited to try this, even with your mouth all over that bottle.
Shut up, bro. It's just act like we've never fucking, shared bottles
we share
before.
All the time. We don't fucking care.
Oh,
We're not those people.
I done spilled.
Germs make us stronger.
I tried to save as much as I could. We'll clean that up later.
Sorry about that.
The show must go on. This is Hey everybody, thanks for following us on this journey.
Don't worry about that. Nothing to see here.
No, yeah. I mean, please watch us. No, I don't mind, dude. I just spent a week out on the Playa. You think this is the worst thing I've ever done?
No, not even close.
Not even close. Oh Lord.
To wrap it up for NFL news, though, the other big headline this week was Jalen Ramsey getting a new deal, becoming the top paid cornerback at $24.1 million.
Once again, another team in Miami that it's like, where are you finding this money? You've got Tua Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Ramsey all under massive contracts.
Yeah, that's where they're dishing that money out. I mean, they have some players on the defense, too, with Chubb and Phillips. Well, is Phillips getting paid yet?
No, I don't think so.
Not yet.
Jalen Phillips? I don't think so. He's come back from an ACL. Good luck, dude. I really hope that
Chubb, too.
Yeah, that's true. They lost them both back-to-back weeks at the end of the season last year. That's one of the reasons why they fizzled out so hard.
And that's why I had a hard time picking them to win to make it out of the
I had Miami making the 7th. I had them at least in the playoffs.
That offense is fire.
Right, and that's where I think they can boat race a few
They're going to have
teams.
to.
Yeah, for sure. All right, brother. Well, let's cheers this mouth-drinking beer already.
Did you empty that bottle?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is it.
So here we go. What are we about to be drinking?
I put about half an ounce on the ground and saved I don't know how much in foam. I don't even know how to pronounce this bitch, okay? Panil Barakue. I don't know. This is it's a product of Italy.
Italy. All right.
Oak aged sour red ale, triple fermented, 8%. So this is old school red, aged on Fodor's barrel style. This is as old of a sour as you're gonna get.
I've noticed when I'm shopping for beer that I see a lot of international red sours.
Yeah. It's one of the most old and commonly brewed style of ales out there in Europe. Sours made their way to America much further after, Europeans were
for sure
making them. Now, what's crazy, okay, so I want you to notice, you can even see it from back here if you're watching us on YouTube. There's head left on this beer. Tell me the last time on a sour. Never. That goes to show you how well conditioned this bottle really was.
Smells like it's in
I hope it does. Pucker. All right. Here's to Pod 66. Here's to you, Downey. We're going to bring more sours on the pod.
Cheers again.
Oh, yeah.
That's not bad. It didn't hit me as much as I thought it was going to.
No, it's because the creaminess of the head the body on this beer is pretty fucking impressive.
That's good.
Panil, Baracui. How would you? I don't speak Italian, brother. I'm butchering this. I'm drowning over here trying to say this word.
I'm not good at language either, so I can't help you.
We're gonna upload them onto X and Instagram as we always do. Make sure that you go and view it. Shout out to Craft, baby. That's where I pull my shit from. Like when it comes to the exotic stuff, I like going to Lee's for more of the known stuff, more of the just domestic, and I mean domestic in the sense of just like American, not domestic as like Bud Light or like fucking Anheuser-Busch, but like just stateside.
Sure.
More accessible beers, if you will. Like
this is something I would recommend to someone who wants to start or try a sour.
Okay.
As far as
there's so much lingering flavor afterwards too.
Yes, it's nice, but it's not too much where I feel like some sours can be.
It's a spectrum for sure, just like anything sour, I guess. But like, there also is there's kettle sours, which are less conditioned, and then barrel aged sours that are much more punchy. So know what you're getting into for sure. Best thing is the layers on this. It's batch 22. Apparently, it was made in 2016. That fucking sticker can't be right. There's no way this bitch was conditioned for 8 years. That'd be dope as shit. It's only bottled $6.88.
It ages well. It's like a fine wine.
It's very good. And it drinks at 8%. Sours traditionally drink 4 to 6%. So to have technically an imperial sour is what we're drinking.
Like it.
Italy, shout out, baby. Like wine, duh. Italy, come on, here we go. Fuck. It does kind of have a little grapey, doesn't it? A little bit, maybe.
A little bit.
Am I tripping on that? Am I just correlating that because it's Italy, maybe a little bit?
No, I get that. It's not overpowering. It's not this front forward.
I'll tell you, the lingering flavor on that though is intense.
I like it.
Me too. All right, so let's get into the full slate of week one. Before we go into every game, let's give our welcome back to the Balls and Brews. Oh my goodness gracious, I opened up the wrong thing. Thanks for staying with us.
Crowd,
a little noise. Every year, meaning this being our second year, yes. We put in a parlay of 3 teams. Golly, man. Every week the Eagles did score again before half. Wow, I wonder who got that. Wasn't Saquon. Anyway,
third quarter just started.
We put in a 3-team parlay. We each choose a line that we like. Sometimes we debate back and forth if there's one that somebody will throw out where we're really disagree, or we maybe need a little guidance in between one or two of them.
Sure. I feel like most of us, if we have a strong feeling, we'll throw it out there, and I think usually the person that makes the last pick might throw out a couple options of teams they're looking between. That's what I did this week. Originally I threw out Baltimore and
saved us a bet there.
And
I know. I was crazy that you were looking at the Jets to me because they're playing the Niners.
Okay, let me explain myself.
Okay.
Niners at home.
Right.
Niners, I feel like this is a game they could lose, and the reason being is their run defense. I think Breece Hall could have a day against that defense. And I think 4.5 point. I think it was
That's a real
the
take
line.
right there, money. I appreciate that.
It could be that close.
Sure.
And win or loss, like that made sense to me. So I threw out that. I threw out Baltimore because I was like, their game plan is going to be different. They're gonna. I like bringing in King Henry.
I said that I leaned Ravens too because
Zach did too, and after all that, I fell off of that. I was
goodness,
like,
yeah.
Baltimore has a lot of new pieces. They got a new defensive coordinator. They lost Patrick Queen. They got 3 new offensive linemen. I'm kind of leaning Bengals. It just kind of came to me when I was looking at the lines. I was like, 8.5 is a lot of points, but I just don't think that much of the Patriots. If Chase is there, I think with a healthy Burrow, with going through training camp, they're not going to have the slow start like they did in previous seasons. I think they win this game by 10 or more points.
You should go out there and sling even if Chase isn't there, Burrow is a great thrower of the football. Like, he is superior to anything New England's going to be. Now, where I did kind of stop you or question was that New England right now they're coached by Gerard Mayo, and they have a really good defense.
Well, you just lost Matthew Judon, though. So
that's true, too. You just trade him. That is true. That is your best edge rusher. Like, that is a big deal.
And there's just too many questions on that offense, I think, at this point for them to be competitive. They are one of the 3 teams this season that I think that New England fans should realistically not be excited about their team. Like, there's not that hope for you. It's you, the Panthers, and I don't know, who's the other third team that's just there's no chance for.
Honestly, a lot of people are saying the Giants, but I don't think that's necessarily the truth. I think that they've done enough to now the NFC East is, so if you're talking scraping the bottom of the barrel, yeah, you're looking at Panthers. It's weird. I've heard roller coaster emotions now going into week 1, but the Broncos don't have a good roster overall, and they are taking a massive cap hit because of the cutting of Russ.
I still like the Broncos over the Patriots, the Panthers.
Yes, those 2 for sure. Those 2 are guaranteed bottom 2. The rest that we could talk about are probably, debatable.
And that's why I went with the pick is Patriots, I think, could be the bottom team. They're definitely bottom 3 for me going into the season.
So that's okay. So all right. So let's get into it. The first, we'll go numerically for what ESPN has posted up from the 10 a.m.ers. We have Cards, the Cardinals flying east to Buffalo. I mean, if this is last year's Buffalo team, I think it's a clear runaway. This year's Buffalo team on week 1, with how hard Jonathan Gannon coached that last year's team, and Kyler Murray is fully healthy,
and the Bills losing Milano, that linebacker.
They lost a lot of they lost all pros at every level.
Yes,
they have Ed Oliver. That's it right now. Is basically that defense.
Yeah. I like the Bills.
And I picked them to win the AFC East because I trust Allen. But
yeah, if Allen's that guy, I think they still can because the receivers they brought in are new. But I still like Samuel had a good year his rookie year, and Shakur was getting better. Kincaid was getting better. I like Coleman, that wide receiver they drafted. Like, it's a lot of unproven, but a lot of pieces that could pop or grow into the role that they need him to grow into.
Sure. No, I think that both of those teams are Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray.
Yes.
But I do believe that there is enough in Kyler Murray, and it depends on what he develops with Marvin Harrison Jr.
I just wanted to speak on Cardinals' offense. I think is gonna be good and gonna make them a problem for teams.
Right now, they're a good paper team.
The only thing that's gonna
Trey McBride
probably cost them is their defense. I feel like their defense, they have nothing outside of Budda Baker,
and he's old. I'm sorry. I mean, you're younger than us technically, but you're like I think 32, 33 as a safety. Like that's older for a safety.
A lot of young pieces that maybe you can get something out of, but I can't bet on consistency with them right now.
You can't bet on maybes. You can throw darts at maybes every now and again, but you're not running a whole season with maybe. But it speaks to the depth of the NFC West, I think, that even the fourth team is going to give you some problems.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That offense, I think, is going to be for real.
I agree too. It's just if you can boat race them, then if you can get out in front of them, they're going to have a hard time playing catch up.
Yes,
right?
that's the way Cardinals are going to win games this season.
If they get out in front of you, for sure,
then it's going to be hard to come back from that because then their defense can pin the ear back, and that offense can continue to pile on. That's how they're going to win games.
So next up is the one we just covered pretty in depth because we bet it, was the Patriots at Cincinnati, right? So the Pats are on the road. So Mr. Joe
That's
Burrow,
the other thing.
Yeah, Mr. Joe Burrow gets to wake up in his home in his house and trot into the stadium like the man and dish out, 303 tuds. He should.
I hope so.
That one's pretty easy to call. So we'll move on from that. Next up is Vikings at the Giants, and this line intrigued me. I thought about potentially throwing one out there. Minnesota -1.5 on the road in New York, just simply because overall the roster is probably better in Minnesota, but both quarterbacks are question marks.
Yeah, that's
both
the thing.
Quarterbacks are question marks.
With the Vikings, they were planning on moving on from Darnold, but now they got to play him all season.
They have to. Yeah.
Justin Jefferson is gonna erase some of his mistakes for sure, but still, can Darnold be that guy?
Enough of that guy. That's what you're aiming for. I don't know. Question mark, big time. And especially in an NFC North that has the Packers, who have looked pretty good tonight, and the Lions are supposed to be Super Bowl, heavy.
And, a lot of people like myself are high on the Bears, too, so that just puts them at the fourth position in the North.
I drafted Caleb for one of my fantasy teams.
What's up?
Next up, we got, speaking of Caleb, Titans at the Bears. With Chicago, they have to give up 3.5. They got to win by 3.5. They got to win by 4. They got to win by basically a full touch. Yes. Soldier Field.
The way the defense came on at the end of the season and what I expect that offense to be, I expect them to win this game, but I don't know by how much. The other question in this game is Will Levis. Tennessee actually, I think, has put together a decent team around him.
Here's the thing about Tennessee. Is they need time to grow together.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think they start slow, get better.
Right, because they have a lot of talent. They have acquired. They actually had a great offseason.
Hopkins, Ridley.
If you look at what Tennessee did, other than firing Vrabel, which is, I don't know that one doesn't make any fucking sense to me. But roster-wise, they have pieces, but you don't know chemistry. They haven't played together. There's not a lot of time there. They didn't even put a lot of preseason together. So I think that especially in an AFC South, that's kind of up for debate, They can make some noise. And if Levis takes a step forward and just starts firing rockets to Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks, they also signed the one that we forgot was Tyler Boyd.
Yes, Boyd. He went there too.
Yes.
So that receiving core is pretty nice.
Those are four guys who can all do some shit.
That's why it really does come down to Levis.
They picked up Pollard from the Cowboys, and then Tajay Spears they drafted last year.
And he did all right. Between the two of them,
he's a good change of pace back.
Yes, running both of them, they could have a good
ground game. So overall, if they grow together, this is a team. Week 1, I don't have a lot of faith in. Chicago should win this game.
Yes.
Chicago, especially because that defense is united in Chicago. So with an uncertain offense on the other side, I do lean Chicago for sure.
Same.
Next up is a good old NFC South matchup. Week 1 is Panthers at Saints. I'm never picking the Panthers, or at least not never, but not this season.
I think they did a good job.
At least not week 1. There's no way I'm taking them this week.
Yeah, I wasn't going to either. I think there's still a chance for them to surprise, though. I mean, they paid a whole lot of money to bring in a guard.
Damian Lewis from Seattle.
Yeah,
they picked up a couple of
overpaid him
tackles,
high just to get him there.
Yeah, I know.
And the skill positions that they got in the draft were nice. But it's still
Xavier Legette,
a lot that's
Jonathan
gotta come
Brooke has to
together.
come off the NFI list, but no, yeah,
at least your new coach has familiarity in the conference.
Yeah, that's true too, because he's coming in from Tampa.
Yeah,
okay, good call.
So, I mean, I think this game is going to be competitive. I just don't know how close.
I still think roster for roster, and I don't like Dennis Allen as a head coach. I don't think anybody on this panel does.
He's been on the hot seat. He
should have been gone 2 years ago. But overall, the roster in New Orleans, I think, is better than Carolina, especially at home and in that dome. Like, the crowd's going to be rocking. New Orleans shows out for their team. Who Dat Nation is legit. Yeah. So, next up, we kind of touched on this when we talked about Russ, the Steelers at Falcons. And I think that
this was one of our bets. Zach liked the Falcons here.
Yeah, and especially now that they're questioning their quarterback depth, literally going into the week, we got it at a good line. I think 3.5 is a fair line for that.
The only thing that concerns me with this game is just the Steelers' defense.
Kyle Pitts?
No, Steelers' defense.
Where has Kyle Pitts gone?
Well, him in London.
We haven't really seen
what that offense is going to look like.
That Steeler defense is mean. They have great players at all levels. They signed Patrick Queen away from Baltimore. Yeah.
Fitzgerald.
Yeah, no, you're right. Minkah Fitzpatrick. Yeah, no, they have more than enough talent on that defensive line to slow this game down, make it a slobber knocker, and ruin Atlanta's home opener. They do. But if Atlanta breaks that, if Atlanta figures that shit out, and they unlock Bijan, and Drake London goes off, and Kyle Pitts even is enough of a distraction.
Well, I mean,
Tyler Allgeier's a good running back. Like,
that's my thought on this game is that offense could be great. And if they're great, then the Steelers, it doesn't matter how good that defense is.
If Kirk Cousins
doesn't come together right away.
If Kirk Cousins looks like normal Kirk Cousins, Atlanta runs away with this game. I understand that had to have been Zach's thought. If Kirk Cousins looks like regular show up on Sunday Kirk Cousins, he's going to give you 275, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. That's what Kirk Cousins does religiously. Like, that's his life. That's where he lives. That's his comfort zone. In his Coles t-shirt. Shout out, bro. Coles Bucks. But I'm just saying, like, it's because this is a quarterback-driven league, and you're also talking they have the better running backs. They have the better receivers. Pickens is a beast, but I think that London is really if him and
there's a lot of hype on him.
There has to be because of Cousins now. Yeah. Absolutely. So the ceiling, I think, for Atlanta is higher than Pittsburgh. Yes. So I get the bet, and I'm okay with it. It's why I completely didn't argue it at all. Like, and also, the Dirty Birds were my NFC team before Seattle moved from the AFC to the NFC. So I've always had a small
got a thing for them birds. Huh?
Yeah. I just have. I've always from the days of Jamal Anderson and the Dirty Bird.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
Dude. Shout out. Next up, man, we got a battle in Florida. Jacksonville's going to travel down to South Beach, Miami. So Jacksonville Dolphins.
This was your bet, right?
Sure was. I took the Dolphins to boat race them. They're favored by 3.5, so they got to win by 4. And I think that Mike McDaniel is going to run the lot. I think that Devon Achane is healthy. Mostert is healthy. Waddle is legs-wise healthy. He had a thumb issue, but he's not on the injury report. Tyreek Hill is back and motivated. There's nothing that's going to... The Jacksonville defense only got work. They have Josh Hines-Allen, because he changed his name. Or reported a different name, whatever. He added it to the NFL.
Yeah, to get that different.
Yeah, because Josh Allen is like, when you say Josh Allen, you think Buffalo Bills, the quarterback. Yeah. So Josh Hines-Allen is their main weapon on defense.
For sure.
Great
player.
Yeah, so if they pressure Tua, if you get Tua off his spot, it's anybody's game. But if Tua's on time and they're clicking, that's just kind of... it was the same theory with Miami that Zach probably had with Atlanta. If they click,
if that offense,
it ain't stopping.
Yeah.
That train is running. And there's no way Jacksonville is going to put up 40, right? Jacksonville could probably put up 20, but if Tua and that Miami offense is ripping, they're giving you 35 to 40. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where my head went, and also nobody debated me on that one. So that is another. I'm confident in that because I chased a couple of other lines that I was looking at, and I'll tell you as we go along where I was. But
yeah.
Next up, good old AFC South to open up this matchup.
Ooh.
This is a good one. This is a really good one because the storylines are big with Anthony Richardson coming back, and so Texans who. The preseason hype is real for this team, y'all. If you are an NFL fan or following it even loosely, C.J. Stroud, Danielle Hunter, they traded for Joe Mixon. They traded for Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins. They even cut Noah Brown. They were like, a guy who gave us 800 yards. We don't need you. That's how thick they are at wide receiver. Like, the hype is real. And they're going into Indy, a division rival, to open up the season. And I hope Anthony Richardson throws to Michael Pittman a million times. Josh Downs actually is out, so that's not good.
He's out. Yeah. I mean, Indy has a lot of weapons on the offensive side. The question is just AR. Like, how is he going to play? I have a hard time picking the Colts just because I see him as so raw that he's going to be so inconsistent.
I understand. No, and against D'Amico Ryans, that defense in Houston is nothing to fuck with at this point.
And
I
think it's going to be one of the best defenses in the league this season.
I don't know if
second
I can
year
necessarily
under him
disagree
with
with that.
the additions they made.
Yeah, no, they had a pretty solid secondary, and you're talking about a linebacker / defensive line coach who, like, just. Yeah, the Texans. I understand why there's hype. I get it. I picked them to win the AFC South. I'm Team CJ. I was second overall for him. No, I was the only one who got that pick right. So thank you.
No, I was on that with you.
Did you put? Was it Zach who went rogue on CJ?
Yes, yeah. I was all on CJ. I thought he was the better of the two quarterbacks.
I thought he was better than Bryce Young coming out too. But what do I know? Ohio State quarterbacks, Justin Fields.
Also, I mean, having some of that Niner love, not only the coach, but you bringing in over Al-Shazier, having Jimmy Ward.
I didn't know that they stacked Jimmy in that one too, because they have Petrie that they drafted. They have Singletary.
That's a good secondary.
No, and they're bringing over Danielle Hunter to anchor the D line.
He was the move.
It is. No, that was
having him opposite.
So now we're talking about a franchise that's never had expectations. That has gone from 2 years ago. If you rewind the clock 2 calendar years going into season 2022, Houston was supposed to be a bottom dweller.
Yep.
And obviously they were, because they got the second overall pick to get CJ Stroud. But in between 2022 bottom seller year to 2024,
it was a big come up.
They have Super Bowl aspirations,
and I'm on that wagon.
A lot of people are, money. You are in the favored percentage, I would say, and it makes sense. You look at this roster and you're like, how am I going to pull against this team? Like, offense loaded, defense loaded, good coach. Like, they are prime. They are right there. Now, this is a clear case of high expectation with potentially low returns because they've never done it. Matt Schaub led them to 13-3 in the first overall seed and then lost in the divisional round. That's the closest they've ever been to relevancy as a franchise.
The difference is CJ Stroud.
Sure. Like any good team in the NFL, you will go as far as your quarterback takes you.
Yep.
And if CJ Stroud was electric as a rookie, if he takes a step forward, good Lord, NFL. Yeah, no, we could be looking at a perennial all-pro, Pro Bowler guy for a decade plus. So that's what Houston wants to see. And I do think that with the roster that they've built, and I think that Stroud wants it, I think they're going to be good. I really do. I think they're an 11-12 win team for sure.
I think so too.
Next up, so we're going to get into the afternoon slate. And then we're going, this is a game I looked at hard, dude. Raiders at Chargers, because I thought the Raiders could win this game. And the Chargers are actually favored by 3.
I would think Zach would agree with you.
Every time I bet the Raiders last year, they lost, and I didn't want to put out week 1 mojo for him kind of thing. I didn't want to argue. So, but I honestly think the Raiders are going to win this game. I really do. This
is where I differ. I know you and Zach, of course, were probably a little higher on the Raiders than me, and I went with the Chargers as being one of my teams that makes the playoffs.
Well, you've seen the Harbaugh effect. You yourself have
I believe it
for sure.
And yeah, sure. I'm too much a believer in Harbaugh and in Herbert. Herbert looks like.
Well, and he's technically off the injury report. Yes. He is, yes. But plantar fasciitis, or plantar fascia, as they say it, is a lingering thing. It doesn't technically ever go away. So it just scares me that at any point it could rear its head. And that team, if they lose Herbert, is done. They're not built. They're not built to have a backup come in and be competitive. No. It is him or bust.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of questions on that offense too, with a whole new wide receiving core and running back core.
Their line they've built well. Rebuilt. They have built their line with Slater and Alt, and they are investing in the trenches is not a bad thing. Harbaugh. And they still have Bosa and Khalil Mack on the line.
Khalil Mack, my man.
Brother, I cannot believe the resurgence he had last year. He had like 17 and a half sacks. It was fucking nasty. It was. So then I guess we differ on that, because I really think the Raiders are going to win that game. I really do. So I'm glad I didn't throw it out there as a bet, because I want consensus picks. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna skip over the next one because it's mine. So we'll leave ours. Yeah, we'll leave ours for last. Yeah. Sure. So we got Dallas traveling to Cleveland, which, man, this could be a great game. This could be one of the most boring games you've ever seen in your life. It has the potential to just suck. But if Deshaun Watson shows flashes, and if Dak and CeeDee Lamb go out and do what they can do, but Cleveland's defense is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, and with all the changes as far as the offensive line goes for Dallas, I just think that defense is going to give Dallas a lot of problems week 1.
There's very few humans on earth who can block Myles Garrett.
Yeah, exactly.
And you finally lost Tyrone Smith. Zach Martin isn't getting any younger. You haven't had Travick Fredrickson in fucking 4 years. Your center, and then Connor Williams left for Miami, and now he's a Seahawk. Let's go. I hope he can anchor the middle of our fucking line. We'll get back to that too. But this one I wouldn't touch with a 10.5 foot pole, because they have Cleveland at -2.5 is the line. In Cleveland, right. But this one is so... I don't know. This one is so unpredictable to me.
Deshaun Watson's just such a huge question mark. Like, again, we're holding out hope that he... Oh,
sure.
Browns fans are holding out.
I want to see him do good. I do. I know that there was all these civil suits, and when he is good, he is so great to watch. He is a great football player when he's at the tippy top.
No, he makes the difference whether the Browns are a playoff team or out of the playoffs.
So yeah, if I'm just doing pick'ems, I do think the Cowboys are going to win this game, because I think that there will be a couple of electric plays that offense will find a way to generate. Dude. I don't have enough faith in the Cleveland offense to be able to come back from a touchdown down or whatever.
I'm on the other side. I think all you got to do is double CeeDee Lamb, and Dallas doesn't have a lot to offer on offense. That defense is good, so I can see them presenting problems for Cleveland as far as getting points.
Okay.
But man, I feel like Dallas is so one-dimensional.
I love not agreeing. So you let us know. Give us a tiebreaker down in the comments, y'all. Who do you got, Cleveland or Dallas? Because this one's such a wild card for me. Like, that's what I'm saying. This was, as soon as I saw that matchup, I said, I don't care what the spread is. I'm not touching this game. Like, that matchup makes no sense to me week 1.
Yeah, that was off the.
It was off the radar immediately for me. Like.
Too risky.
Yeah, it is. There's so much uncertainty around both teams.
Yep.
Next up is
Commanders, Bucks.
Yeah, great. Two East Coast teams. Baker is, I guess, as proven of a commodity as you have right now in Tampa, especially with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those guys are studs, no doubt about that. The Commanders had so many moving parts, but if it clicks, they're one of those where paper, you read some of those names and you're like, golly, man, like they signed Bobby, why didn't you stay home? Why didn't you stay home?
I'm with you 100% on this game.
$8 million.
Like, I think I'm underselling the Bucks. Like, this is a game they should win.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. At home. Sure.
Washington, I think they could surprise. That's
the whole thing. They have a.
Oh my goodness!
I threw a super dart on Jaden Daniels in a 12-teamer because I went late quarterback. All of the early quarterbacks got swallowed up, so I was like, okay, well, here we go.
Potential offensive rookie of the year.
His legs are fantastic. He can dot a motherfucker downfield too. Bucks defense got worse. Right? They lost Carlton Davis. Like, they did re-sign Wingfield Jr., who's a stud. But, like, they're older, a year older. Levante David is back, and Shaq Barrett retired. So they lost, that stagnant in the middle.
They still got a nice mix of young and old. But, like, with Daniels at quarterback, like, Terry McLaurin.
Scary Terry, baby.
Dude, he hasn't had a quarterback like him.
I know.
This could be a game-changing season for him. It
should be, which is why it blows my mind. Why did you trade Jahan Dotson?
Dude, being traded in the division,
I know.
I feel like there's got to be some sort of...
Something had to have gone sour. He was a first-round pick 2 years ago.
The chemistry had to be off.
Then you trade him for a third-round pick less than 2 years with a brand-new upside quarterback. It made no sense to me.
I mean, you got to be happy in McCaffrey that you drafted this year, or
Luke
Brown, who you drafted the previous year.
Okay.
Which they have a lot of young receivers.
True.
And the reason I heard they moved off from him is it just wasn't there as far as preseason and training camp go.
Had to have been. I mean, Jahan Dotson is not untalented. He's a good wide receiver. He's a good wide receiver. And not Nelson Aguilar. Like, he's got hands. The kid has played well. Like, no, I'm serious though. Like, that's why it's weird that less than 2 years you move off of a first rounder. You didn't. It's not like it was a contract dispute and you had to pay him and you had to move him or what. It must have been chemistry. That bridge must have been burnt. That's the only reason why you move off of a kid that young that you have control of, because you got him for a fifth year too. Yep. Now, I don't know if when you trade him, I think the team picks up the contract, which means now the Eagles has a fifth year option. So good for them. It's a fucking killer trade getting a first round talent for a third round pick.
Yeah, for the compensation especially.
Yeah, dude. So, okay. Overall, who do you think's going to win? Commanders or Bucks? Just give me win-loss. Doesn't matter spread.
The Bucks makes more sense week 1 to me.
Okay.
If this was later in the season, I might...
With more on tape, I can understand. I can understand leaning on the safe option, for sure. Especially at home, they're running it back. They won the NFC South last year. It does make sense to me. I want Jaden Daniels the ball because I have him in my other league in fantasy. So rookies... At quarterback, baby, we going young in both of them. Caleb in one and Jaden in the other. So,
I mean, and I picked Billy to win the NFC East, but sure. I am rooting for the Commanders.
Hey, and let me tell you something. You can still have a great fantasy day and lose the game. So I do think that the Buccaneers are going to win this game, but hopefully Jaden Daniels shows those exact flashes that you drafted him number 2 at. And you move forward from there.
All right. And this next game, the primetime game is Sunday night, is a good one.
It is. It's a playoff rematch from last year. It's the trade, right? It still holds weight, has to, between Stafford and Goff. So it's LA is traveling to Detroit. Yeah. So Ford Field's going to be popping for sure. Detroit has heavy expectations off of the back of last year, and they've only gotten better at the roster. Their roster is loaded. It is. This, in theory, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is another game that I wouldn't bet, really, because I think the Rams could be a problem. Have a puncher's chance at every game.
Yep.
Okay? They're going to lose games. Yes. They're not elite by any means, but they are that team you don't want to see on the week that they get hot. Yeah. You don't. Like,
honestly, I was leaning Rams, but that defense is too much of a question for me to place that bet at this time.
Sure. That offense is
Detroit,
looking pretty good.
Their secondary is better on paper. That D-line, I still think could be better. So I was hesitant.
I mean, you lose Aaron Donald, you don't get better. Right. There's nothing that you can put in there that's better than Aaron Donald.
See how that defense plays without him
at home against a team that's going to be rocking. No, it's the. Could the Rams spoil this game? For sure. Stafford has gone into the most treacherous of territories and played good games.
In the playoffs?
Yeah, exactly. They only Detroit won by a point, right? It was like 27-28 or some shit. It was crazy. It was a great game. But no, Stafford could fuck this night up for Detroit. With Puka Nacua, a healthy Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, Tyler Higbee, who is a good enough tight end to, be able to give you a handful of catches. Like,
that offense should be fun.
With McVay's play style calling, the offense is legit. That defense is questionable going up against Jared Goff and a dialed-in Lions offense who Jameson Williams got another offseason under his belt. Sam Laporta was a stud last year. Amon-Ra is a fucking animal, dude. Throw him the ball for sure. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, that offense is ready to fucking roll. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, as far as running backs go, that 1-2 punch is probably one of the best.
If we were to go through tiers, they're in probably the upper tier for sure, because you have the bruiser and the change of pace, and they're both top tier at what they do.
Yep.
So if you're give me win-loss, Rams-Lions, who's winning?
I lean slightly with Detroit being at home.
Me too. If I'm just going off of pure win-loss, I go Lions. But we're putting it on wax now. The Rams will be a problem. And it sucks coming from NFC West fans because we got to see them twice. They're always a problem for the Seahawks.
Got to deal with that.
They always are. They have been for a good while. So I hate that. But, let's go good games, NFL. So we'll backtrack a little bit to my 105er.
In the NFC West.
Yeah, we'll go to my 105er because you're the Monday nighter, so we'll leave you for last. So
thank you.
So the Seahawks open up at home against rookie Bo Nix and Sean Payton, the Denver Broncos. The line is actually quite favorable for Seattle, -6, simply because Bo Nix is a rookie.
Yep.
Honestly, our home has kind of lost the mystique. Lumen Field is not as formidable as it once was. Well, the reason being because we don't have the Legion Boom. We don't kill people the same way that we once did. But
that defense might be back.
You know what, man? Between Devon Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, Julian Love, Trey Brown has had it's such a good camp that we traded Michael Jackson Sr., who was balling last year. We traded a great number 4 cornerback because we didn't have room for him. In that secondary, we are ready to roll in the secondary. I think our defensive line, you look at the paper, and oh my God, the names read wonderfully. Leonard Williams, we drafted Byron Murphy, Draymond Jones, Jaron Reed. Those are rotational guys. Those are guys that were all pro, a handful. Draymond Jones, when he signed him, was a Pro Bowler on the cusp of all pro. And then Jaron Reed, when he was with us and then he went to Green Bay, was still Pro Bowl. So
I expect this Seattle defense to be one of the better defenses that they've put out in
a while. Sure. No, we should be able to shore up the run defense, and our secondary is lit. So if we play well on defense, the question mark is linebacker. Now, we did sign Tyrell Dotson, who by PFF grades, which is church in a lot of NFL fans, was the highest graded middle linebacker of last year. He came in for Matt Milano, and he was the only linebacker to have an 85-plus grade in both running in run and passing.
Who's he playing next to?
Scored again.
Oh, damn.
Jerome Baker. We got him from Miami. We basically flip-flop linebackers with Miami.
Right. Baker.
Jerome Baker. Yeah, no, he's a sideline to sideline guy. We swapped Jerome Baker and Jordan Brooks, and we got him for cheaper. And Jerome Baker hasn't had an ACL, so. Jordan Brooks, I loved you, bro. I wanted to re-sign you bad, but you didn't have interest. You wanted to go down to South Beach. I don't necessarily blame you for that. But overall, okay, let's get to the nitty-gritty. I don't want to break down rosters. I think that Seattle has a great offense. I think that Ryan Grubb is going to unlock Geno in a way that he has never had an offensive coordinator unlock him.
Week 1?
Yes. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN, everywhere. They're going to be everywhere.
Yeah, the weapons are there.
Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet.
The question on offense is line.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. Abe Lucas is starting the season on the PUP, so he's out for 4 games. We're going to replace him with a George Fant, who we've had before. He's traveled to a couple other teams, and he came back. Yes, 1,000%. That offensive line's got to keep Geno upright. But if they give him 2.4 seconds, which is about the NFL average. No, that is. From snap to release. If they give him average time, we'll be fine. Geno has got a good arm. He's got a good sense of field. I think that, especially in this matchup at home, and we're also rocking our throwbacks, which, let me tell you, in a little sidebar fandom here real quick, I think that's very weird that Mike McDonald is coaching his first game in throwbacks. I think that I just don't know why that feels weird to me. I think we should be rocking regular home uniforms. He should be used to the regular outfit. Like, not that I don't love... I fucking love these jerseys. I have a throwback and Smith and Jigba jersey in my fucking closet. Like, this is my favorite color scheme by us. Not even close. But your culture is here and now. With Mike McDonald, why are we not rocking our regular fucking home jerseys week 1? I don't know. I'm too traditional in that sense. Jerseys mean a lot to me, and I feel like there's mojo that comes behind it, and I don't understand why game 1 he's in throwbacks. Now, once again, I know this is a total sidebar, but how do you feel about that take?
I mean, I don't know. It's you play good when you look good for sure. Being the first game, maybe that's just, a little to kind of try to catch some eyes, but I don't know if it's really that big of a deal.
No, it's okay. Let me break this down. It's not a big deal at all. No, this is that's why I called it my fandom, because it hits me right here. I wouldn't ever bring this to like the table of a reasonable conversation, Money. I know that this is completely asinine. It doesn't rub me the wrong way. I just don't know why.
I think
his first games are in throwbacks. Why are our first games in throwbacks?
I think the why is just for that grab of.
It has to be.
You're starting. It's a turnover. You got a new coaching staff. It's a new season.
Also against an AFC West rival that they have throwbacks now, and I was hoping they were going to rock theirs too, and we were going to go both in the 90s.
That would be cool.
We wore these jerseys when we play. We have Bronco Buster. Like, that's I hate the Denver Broncos because we were in the AFC West for fucking years. John Elway used to tear up the Seahawks. Like, so I get it in that sense that, like, it's cool that we're going against an old opponent in the throwbacks. I mean,
that makes sense.
It does.
With your opponent.
It does.
And like I said before, just to catch his eyes week 1, I do, to top it off, I kind of like the Seahawks week 1 just because Bo Nix being a rookie. I like him with Sean Payton. I like him in that system. I think they're going to be better than a lot of people think, probably, for the West.
Yeah. Oh, no.
But I don't see them winning week 1 because they're still
There's a lot to work out. There's a lot to work out. There's a lot of timing that you don't get. Preseason, DK Metcalf, I listened to his presser like yesterday, and he's like, we kept it vanilla during the preseason.
Everybody did.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to see what we're actually going to do. Grubbs has some of the most... We're going to move from the least pre-snap movement team to one of the most pre-snap movement teams.
Join the club?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I would love to join that club. Do you know how good your offense is? Anybody who's watched the NFL knows how good the Niners offense is. I would love to be shades of that. Are you kidding me?
I would say that the Niners have figured out the cap better than anybody else.
Well, because I was talking to Ray about this. I was talking to Aaron. Shout out to you, homie. That what you've done so fucking well is that your compensatory picks you've been able to hit on these free picks that you're getting from the NFL from coaches going down. D'Amico Ryans, Robert Saleh. You've had so many head coaches. You hire minorities. You do the things that get you those extra picks. Yeah, so you go into the draft with 11 picks, right?
Along with how we've navigated the cap.
You've kicked a lot of the money down the road. It will catch up to you. It will, because you do have to pay Purdy too. You do have to pay Purdy.
Quick.
It will. It has to.
The way that the Niners have played it as people are getting paid after they leave the Niners, years down the road. The Niners are banking on the cap continuing to increase.
As well, it will. It will. And it should. It should and it will.
If there's any bit of stumble there, if there's a year where it doesn't increase as much as they predict it to, that could even backfire even more on how this team is situated. After this season, I mean, for real, there's going to be some drastic changes.
So we're both, I know you hate to say this, but we're both Seahawks in this matchup, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's roll into you.
All right, and like I was saying before, I think this could be a game that the Niners could stumble.
So who's your opponent?
The Jets.
Aaron coming back from his Achilles.
And I am higher on Aaron than I think a lot of other analysts or people that talk about him. Everybody hates the person that he is.
I mean, he's a 4-time MVP,
the player that he is, I respect.
He's elite.
100%.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure.
And I think Breece Hall is going to be...
You're saying. The X factor. I hope he throws to Garrett Wilson. That's what
well, yes, Garrett
My
Wilson
fantasy team would love some Garrett Wilson.
Unlocked. Like him and Breece Hall have such a high upside with a healthy team intact. And Breece Hall, I think, is a top 3 running back in the league if Aaron Rodgers is healthy.
I mean, even when he wasn't healthy, Breece Hall, bro, his yards after contact, yards after expected play is insane. He breaks shit all the time. Like, he was a little banged up last year, but his Breece Hall can change the trajectory of this Jets offense 1,000%. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
For sure. And for the Niners, I mean, if they lose this game, it's an AFC team. It doesn't really mean much as far as coming down to
tiebreakers, if you will.
Yeah,
for sure.
Tiebreakers. And for the Jets, if they lose this game, like their early season schedule, they don't really have a tough opponent, and I think until Buffalo. So it's not a big game for them either. So I don't think there's any pressure on either team opening the game.
I think it's a bigger game for New York in the sense of you just don't know. Well, the Niners are essentially running it back outside of a couple of pieces that are always going to leave. You're always going to have some turnover, but the vast majority of the important pieces in San Francisco have returned.
Yes, and that's why they're one of the favorites, if not the favorite, in Super Bowl picks.
In the NFC, yeah, it's like them and the Lions, and if you like Philly, you can sprinkle them in there maybe, but like those are about it.
Some people are really high on Green Bay, for sure.
Well, we'll see after Saquon fucking finishes this game. Hey-o.
We got to get back to that because
we'll give you some live update after. Yeah. We'll give you some live update. But okay, so once again, let's just pick win-loss. Niners, right? Yeah, at home, opening the season. McCaffrey is going to start, but his usage rate, who knows? They always do this where he might be on the injury and then he get 30 touches.
I mean, he's going to be the focal point if he's 100%. If he's a little bit under that, then I could see them spreading the ball around a little bit more. But still, that offense is going to be one of the best in the league if everybody's healthy.
But the Jets have a formidable defense. They do. They have
yes.
guys at every fucking station or at every row.
And got Trent Williams back. Got Brandon Ayuk
I'm
back.
saying. No, you're running it back.
Hassan Reddick not
going to play for the Jets. No, not back. Not there ever. Not once. Not never. Niners win this game just because I like the proven roster over the uncertainty in New York.
And being Jets, at home, I think
exactly.
Helps a lot
yeah,
too.
Flying East Coast to West Coast is not easy. Although, Rodgers is a Bay Area kid. He played at Cal. He loves the area.
But his record against the Niners
is not good. Not recently, anyway. I think the Niners do capture this game. It just makes too much sense on paper for them not to get it. Now, football can football.
Yeah. I said I put it out there. I think the Jets could win this game. I lean the Niners, but I don't think it's out of reach for the Jets.
All right.
That run defense really concerns me.
So that's week 1 of the NFL, money.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. We got some good games.
Up for this.
Oh, so bad. So check us out. X, Instagram, Buzzsprout for audio, Spotify for audio as well, YouTube if you're watching our pretty faces. Zach, get home safe. We're going to come back with Pod 67. I want you guys to make sure you follow our bets, okay? Hold us accountable. I think we got a good parlay so far. Yeah. No, we hit week 1 last year too, and we came damn close to hitting week 2 as well. We were almost on a runner. So we're going to try to start off 1-0 this season, just like
be better.
Your favorite
That's
team.
What we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to get good. Comment down below with your favorite teams. We want to hear from y'all. We want to know, what teams we might have missed, what teams we highlighted maybe too much. Like, is Josh Allen going to be another 25, turnover machine? We don't know. Zach, get back here. We're better with 3 people. We love you. We'll see you for Pod 67.